241 seconds, 4 minutes and 1 second, the new record. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez held a Treasury wire authorization form above her head and pointed to a signature at the bottom, Stephen Miller's signature, authorizing $870 million to disappear into accounts he swore he knew nothing about. The question she asked next would create the longest silence in congressional hearing history. If this is the first time watching, subscribe right now, because what happens next shows exactly why silence tells the entire story. The setup House Financial Services Committee, room 2128, Thursday afternoon, 2:47 p.m. Eastern, routine oversight of DHS financial controls. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, cameras positioned in the back. Ocasio-Cortez arrived early carrying a manila folder. Security waved her through without a second glance. Miller walked in with 3 attorneys, 2 senior aides, that practiced confidence he always carried into these rooms. Shoulders back, chin level, the posture of someone who had done this 100 times. He adjusted his microphone, took a sip of water, looked relaxed, his prepared remarks ready, talking points memorized. He thought this would be like every other hearing. He was catastrophically wrong. The first hour, the first 55 minutes went as Miller anticipated. Questions about vendor selection, contract bidding, emergency protocols. Miller delivered smooth answers. He referenced policy documents, cited regulations. He even smiled once. Miller was comfortable. His attorneys barely took notes. Then Ocasio-Cortez took the microphone, and the temperature dropped. Her voice was quiet. Calm, Mr. Miller, the Treasury Department provided wire transfer authorizations from the DHS emergency account covering the past 18 months. She opened the folder. The document camera zoomed in. A single page appeared on screens throughout the chamber. Treasury Department seal at the top. Wire transfer authorization form. Date the 14th of March. She read, originating account, Department of Homeland Security Emergency Operations Fund. Transfer amount $870 million. Receiving institution. She paused. Cayman International Banking Corporation. Account holder, Strategic Border Solutions. International. A murmur started. Journalists leaned forward. Ocasio. Cortez continued. Mr. Miller, when you testified in April, Representative Porter asked if you had personal knowledge of DHS funds being transferred to offshore accounts. Do you remember? Miller nodded slightly. Congresswoman, there are thousands of transactions, and without specific details, I cannot recall every seat. Cut him off. You said, direct quote, I have never personally authorized any transfer of DHS funds to offshore banking institutions. That is not within my policy purview. Do you stand by that testimony? Miller's hands went flat on the table. That testimony was accurate based on my understanding of emergency operational spending. She held up the document. Then she pointed to the bottom. Her finger stayed there. The camera zoomed in at the bottom of this Treasury authorization form in the section marked Executive Authorization Required. There is a signature. 3 seconds of silence. Your signature, Mr. Miller. The room erupted. Journalists typing frantically. Committee members talking. Cameras repositioning. The chairman banged his gavel 4 times. The evidence cascade. Ocasio. Cortez pulled out a second page. When Representative Porter asked you that question in April, this transfer had already occurred. The 14th of March, your testimony was the 22nd of April. That is 39 days after you signed this authorization. She set both documents side by side. So either you forgot signing off on $870 million within 39 days, or you deliberately misled this committee under oath. Which is it? Miller's lead attorney stood. Objection. Mr. Chairman, the Congresswoman is conflating emergency authorization. Sit down, counselor. Your client can answer. Miller leaned forward. Congresswoman, emergency spending requires streamlined authorization, and the signature process involves multiple reviewing officials. She stopped him. Mr. Miller, this is not a mass authorization. This is not blanket approval. This is one transaction, $870 million, one recipient, your actual signature, third document. This is a signature comparison from a forensic document examiner. She held it up, left side, your signature from your White House employment application, right side, your signature from this wire authorization. The examiner concluded the signatures match across 14 distinct characteristic points, including pressure patterns and stroke velocity. She looked at Miller. That is your signature. You authorized $870 million to a Cayman Islands account. Then 39 days later, you told this committee under oath you had never done exactly that. Pause for engagement break. If you believe accountability for $870 million matters, hit that like button right now. Share this video. Every person needs to see what happens when a signature destroys an entire defense. Keep watching because the silence that comes next breaks every record. The question, Ocasio-Cortez pulled out a fourth document. Here is where your testimony becomes more than misleading. This is a secondary transfer report from Cayman International Banking obtained through international treaty. It shows what happened to the $870 million after it reached Strategic Border Solutions. She read, within 72 hours of receiving the funds, Strategic Border Solutions transferred the entire amount to 4 accounts. $217 million to Switzerland, registered to Miller Family Trust. $224 million to Singapore, registered to MW Holdings, LLC. $203 million to Luxembourg, Heritage Policy Advisors, and $226 million to the British Virgin Islands, registered to. She looked up your wife's maiden name, followed by Investment Holdings. Complete silence. That heavy silence where everyone stopped moving. Miller's face drained of color, not flushed, drained, blood physically leaving in real time. Ocasio-Cortez set the paper down. So, Mr. Miller, you signed authorization for $870 million. That money went to a Cayman shell company. Within 72 hours, the entire amount was distributed to accounts, including your family trust, your holdings company, and an entity registered under your wife's maiden name. Then you testified under oath you never authorized offshore transfers. She leaned forward. I have a very simple question. Did you steal $870 million from the Department of Homeland Security? The silenced Miller opened his mouth. Nothing. His attorney grabbed his shoulder. The second attorney stood frozen. Ocasio-Cortez pulled out her phone, opened the stopwatch, held it where cameras could see. I am going to ask one more time, Mr. Miller, and I am going to count how long you refuse to answer. Did you personally authorize and benefit from the theft of $870 million? She pressed start, 1, 2, 3. At 10 seconds, Miller's hands pressed against the table, knuckles white. At 20 seconds, his attorney whispered urgent. Miller pulled away. At 30 seconds, a camera shutter clicked. The sound echoed. At 45 seconds, the chairman spoke. Mr. Miller, you are under oath. Answer. Miller's jaw moved. No sound. At 60 seconds, Ocasio-Cortez spoke quietly. 1 minute of silence. The American people are watching. You refuse to explain why $217 million ended up in an account with your family name. At 75 seconds, a Republican member spoke. Steve, just answer. Did you take the money or not? Miller looked at him, looked away. At 90 seconds, Miller's second attorney stood. Mr. Chairman, we request an immediate recess. Denied. The witness will answer now. At 105 seconds, Ocasio-Cortez stood, still holding the phone. 1 minute, 45 seconds. That is how long you have refused to deny stealing $870 million. Your silence is answering. At 120 seconds, 2 full minutes. The stenographer stopped typing. At 135 seconds, Miller's face had gone gray, jaw muscle twitching. At 150 seconds, his hands trembled. He pressed harder. Cameras caught everything. You could hear the ventilation system. You could hear someone shifting in their seat. At 165 seconds, a journalist stood for a better angle. At 180 seconds, 3 minutes, the chairman spoke. This committee has sat here for 3 minutes waiting for you to deny stealing taxpayer money. Your continued silence is being recorded in the permanent record. At 195 seconds, Miller's attorney tried again. Mr. Chairman, on advice of counsel, your client has not invoked anything. He has just been sitting there. If he wants to invoke Fifth Amendment rights, he can say so himself. At 210 seconds, Ocasio-Cortez walked closer. Not aggressive, just closer, approaching 4 minutes, 4 minutes where you could have said that account is not mine. 4 minutes where you could have said those transfers are a mistake, but you have chosen absolute silence. At 225 seconds, Miller's eyes glassy, fixed on the table. At 240 seconds, exactly 4 minutes, she stopped the timer, held it up. 4 minutes, she pressed it once more. 241 seconds. She turned to the committee. Mr. Chairman, the witness has refused to answer for 4 minutes and 1 second. I move to enter all 4 documents, the wire authorization with his signature, the forensic signature analysis, the secondary transfer report, and the account holder information into the permanent congressional record. I further move to refer this matter immediately to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation into embezzlement, theft of government funds, and perjury before Congress. The motion was seconded within 2 seconds. The vote was called. Passed unanimously. Even the Republicans voted yes. The aftermath, she turned to the committee. Mr. Chairman, the witness has refused to answer for 4 minutes and 1 second. I move to enter all 4 documents into the permanent congressional record. I further move to refer this immediately to the Department of Justice for criminal investigation into embezzlement, theft of government funds, and perjury. The motion was seconded within 2 seconds, vote called. Passed unanimously. Even Republicans voted yes. Ocasio-Cortez gathered her documents. Mr. Miller, she said, not looking at him, 2:41 seconds, the longest silence in congressional hearing history, longer than Massey's 1:43 seconds. You sat here for over 4 minutes rather than deny that your family trust received $217 million from a DHS wire transfer you authorized. She faced him directly. That silence tells this committee, tells the American people, and tells federal prosecutors everything they need to know. These documents are now public. Every account number, every transfer, every signature analysis, permanent record. She looked at the cameras. To anyone who participated in setting up those accounts, who processed those transfers, who helped hide $870 million, the FBI has this file. Treasury has this file. They are very good at following money. She stepped back. You had 2:41 seconds to explain. You chose silence. That choice will follow you into a federal courtroom. The hearing ended. Miller's attorneys surrounded him, but he just sat there staring at the wire authorization with his signature under the document camera. Within minutes, AOC 241 trending in 47 countries, news networks breaking into programming, forensic accountants analyzing the transfer trail, 4 banks in 4 countries receiving federal subpoenas, lawyers for Miller Family Trust having emergency calls. This is not speculation. This is Treasury wire transfer records, forensic signature analysis, international banking documents, $870 million transferred with Miller's verified signature, and 2:41 seconds where he could have denied everything but chose complete silence. Subscribe, because tomorrow the full account holder documents go public. Every name on every account that received pieces of that $870 million. Share this everywhere. 2:41 seconds of silence is the confession. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. The truth is coming out one signature at a time, 2:41 seconds. That is all it took, and it is all documented.